Let's go now to our friend Bimnet Abibi from Galaxy Trading. As always, Bimnet, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
What's been happening in markets? I guess the big news since, I guess it happened after we recorded last week, was this ruling in the Ripple case. I think that's
Correct.
probably the big news still in the cryptocurrency markets. What's been the fallout from that you've seen?
Well, the biggest fallout was Ripple.
XRP
itself,
went up a
and
lot.
It has rallied tremendously up to around 75 cents
Wow.
right now.
Wow.
And I mean, shorts got hosed. Like tons of like losses. Are implied
This is like
there.
all primarily like offshore trading, right? At this point, because all the
Correct.
U.S. entities delisted it.
Correct.
Yeah.
In addition to Ripple, obviously Stellar Lumens also had a.
Why?
pop.
Because it has an X in it, XLM.
No, it's the same guy, right?
Oh, I
Yeah.
guess, but
yeah.
I mean that's like, God, when you look at these markets, you're like,
Short
that's
squeeze.
funny.
Yes. But
XLM.
lumens are like at 14 cents now and looking like they can go higher.
It's crazy.
It's a function of just liquidity and like there are forced buyers in a market and not that many sellers.
Yeah.
And the other thing to think about is, there has been a ton of interest in the U.S. in Ripple, right? And they haven't, and U.S. based investors really haven't had the opportunity to buy it for years now.
Right. Coinbase immediately relisted it.
Relisted
like a couple hours after that ruling came out.
And let's be honest, it's a top 10 token.
Right.
Right. If you're benchmarked to performance or you're trying to get exposure to the crypto space,
Yeah.
right? Like you're almost, some
like,
folks are like,
So indexes maybe had to buy.
People had, yeah.
Second
absolutely.
it was relisted,
Yeah.
maybe had to buy. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it's been like, I won't take credit for this since I heard it from somebody else, but that was, one of the main reasons to be bullish. Ripple before this decision was nobody in the U.S. has had an opportunity to
So
buy
just
it.
the
And it's a
second,
major token.
if it were to become available, then
Period.
bam.
Yeah, bam.
So was it like liquid? Like, I mean, these
It
things,
is liquid. It's one of the most liquid tokens on
So
the planet.
a bunch of liquidity just like flowed back to the States as soon as that happened?
Ripple on the day, Ripple traded over $10 billion.
Wow. What was that, like last Thursday? Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Like that is,
That's a lot.
that's like Bitcoin on a bad day.
Yeah.
Like
That's crazy.
That's a crazy, all token. Most people don't even know what it does.
Yeah. I don't think it does much. That's just my opinion.
But you know, that's not the point.
No, but so and then there was a broad rally that Thursday,
Absolutely,
right? Bitcoin made
because-
yearly highs. ETH was up even more, right?
ETH BTC started
all the other tokens named in various SEC filings and lawsuits as possibly securities, they all rallied.
Absolutely.
But are we still? Ripple is showing some strength, like still holding there, but most of the rest of the stuff has come back down, right? For the most part.
I would say so, with the exception of a couple of things. Like Solana has, I guess pre that announcement, most of the stuff has come off.
Yeah.
I think that's just indicative of just positioning going into that Ripple event, which was already crowded.
Yeah.
But high level, I do think this is a constructive development for the broader argument of what is a security and what isn't, and what can exchanges list and what they can't.
Yeah, it's tricky ruling. Like I always tell
And you
people
don't know what's going to happen on appeal. There's tons of variables.
Yeah.
There's going to be case by case defense by the SEC.
Exactly.
Lots and lots of like ways to think about it.
I think clearly the SEC was a loser in the decision, and Ripple, the exchanges, even just the cryptocurrency complex was, I would say, at least a decent winner. I mean, I think Ripple a pretty big winner.
I mean,
but,
I think,
but there's still a lot of nuance there.
Still a lot of nuance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the way you're going to keep score of, who's winning and all the time, one, Ripple price, two, like things like, Brian Armstrong getting invited to speak to
A bunch of Democrats.
A bunch of Democratic
Yep.
congressmen.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be, whether or not, an ETF gets approved, how quickly, et cetera, and how the narrative changes around, the SEC's approach to crypto, et cetera. It's the soft points, seem like they're going to be pretty huge right now. And we live in a very political and sort of, image-oriented world. And, as you get closer to the election, right, like if it becomes more apparent that the better story, better narrative is not the one the SEC is pursuing, but
Something
approach
else.
something else.
Yeah.
I think that will bring, better outcomes, better legislation, and it'll be good for crypto.
That is interesting. And when I think about the election to today, there was just news Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a pretty interesting plan he announced.
Oh, Bitcoin backed dollar?
It's not just Bitcoin, but it's gold, silver, platinum.
Oh, hard asset.
Yeah, he has a plan. Should he become elected, to basically starting with new Treasury issuance to back those issuances with hard assets. Some of them or a percent. I think starting at a smaller percentage and then growing as part of a sound money plan. That was kind of interesting. There's going to be a lot of I think he clearly thinks that there is voters there, and there are. We know there's at least 20 million, owners of Bitcoin in the U.S. That's what the White House said. I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
more,
not the
but-
angle I would pursue if I was him
Well,
personally.
I don't know if I would or wouldn't.
No,
I also
it's
personally,
just like
yeah.
there's reasons why we're not on the gold standard. The arguments are pretty clear
Yeah.
as to why you wouldn't. Same things with silver, platinum, other things of
Bitcoin.
that nature. Bitcoin. Well, I'm not gonna throw out the Bitcoin one right just now,
And-
but
Yeah,
I think what you're supposed to push for is just democratization of this asset
of
class.
access.
Yeah, of access.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't have to pay ridiculous bid offer every time that I want to PA buy like $200
Right.
worth of Bitcoin.
I mean,
should
I
be
think
able
right
to do it
now,
out of my retirement account, my tax
mostly-
advantaged accounts, wherever it may be.
in most like retail platforms that I've used, if I buy $100 of Bitcoin, I'm getting like $97 worth of it.
It's
Like
just
it's
egregious.
3% fee. It's insane.
It's like
That's pretty common. Like that fee is pretty common.
yeah, and like all we're asking for is just a product offering that's consistent with the technology and with the efficiency of scale that's available
Yeah.
for every other product.
And this is kind of what Larry Fink said on Fox
Yeah,
Business.
and he's dead right.
yeah,
Like
he
the
said that
people, like if there are 20 million crypto holders in the U.S., like the government by like not allowing them is just charging them money unfairly. Like
Yeah.
you're forcing people into an awful product like the Bito futures that have like poor tracking error.
I know, with the roll
You're
and-
approving double levered ETFs so that retail can get hosed.
yeah.
Like trading this stuff, like it's just so antithetical to the ethos of what the SEC is supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think this is what BlackRock must be seeing. It feels like the narrative is shifting on that
I mean,
ETF a
yeah,
lot.
it's
You even look and like they were saying things like, all the prior filings had a surveillance sharing agreement that looked at the futures markets. And they were like, oh, no, it needs to look at the spot market. And it's like, but the Spider Gold ETF, or Gold Trust or whatever, the GLD, it surveils it is a commodity-backed spot ETF that surveils the futures market. So like there's plenty of precedent. And you know why? Because there is no centralized spot market for Bitcoin. There is no centralized spot market for gold. You can
Yeah.
Bitcoin's totally global. What are you gonna? You can't monitor
I know.
the spot market. It's not
Yeah.
a NYSE. It's not like an equity that trades in one stock exchange, right? So that's why So even that like starts to seem wild. Like they're like they should the commodity doing surveillance sharing agreement, monitoring the futures market is sufficient for other assets, other commodities. Why not Bitcoin? Right. Anyway, they've all gone around this by naming Coinbase as their spot
Yeah.
market. But I agree. It feels like a dam has to break on that. Let's go back though. Let's talk about some of the other macro stuff that's happening. Anything interesting
Yeah.
since we last talked? I mean, not a big data week, right?
Well, so last night, not in the U.S. at
Yeah.
least. The U.S. data has been, besides folks had the inflation reading, last week, and that's kind of the big one.
Yeah.
But we had UK inflation come out last night. Came in slightly softer than expected. It came in at 6.9 versus like 7.
Theirs has been worse than
It's been
ours
bad,
in general,
but
right?
generally, it kind of what it seems like is that headline inflation has peaked and stuff is like slowly trending lower, but there remain upside risks.
Yeah.
Right, and those upside risks, some of them are structural, like in the U.S. with people locked into mortgages, and so housing supply
Right.
staying tight, and some of the other constraints are a little different and technical, like financial conditions, like all this other stuff. But the one thing I definitely need to mention though is oil. Oil has picked up a lot
Really?
recently. So we've gone from, at the depths like 65 a barrel to like almost 76, 77 in WTI crude, and
Wow.
Brent's a bit higher. But a big reason why headline inflation came down everywhere is because oil prices came down everywhere.
Oh, I see.
Right. And so if you're going to start to see oil prices tick up, there's a risk that inflation like accelerates a little bit, at least the stuff that's sensitive to energy prices.
Yeah.
So that's one risk that's constantly on my mind. And I'm looking at those crude charts pretty closely. But outside of that, it does seem like you're having a little bit of synchronized global like inflation cool down. Knock on wood, because I know that's what central bankers would want to do right now.
Yeah.
But realistically, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And if I'm the Fed, I am going to stay as hawkish as possible. I see the NASDAQ up 40%. I see home prices still ticking high. I see.
Was that 40% year to date, the NASDAQ?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I know that we've been having, one of the best years in
it should
equities.
make your jaw drop.
It is. That's absolutely wild. That can't be something the Fed wants to see theoretically, right?
Absolutely not.
That's like, people don't feel...
Who's gonna feel poor when their entire retirement account is up?
Just mooning. 40% year to date. My God.
Year to date.
Oh my God. I didn't realize it was so big. The other ones that have, and then big tech stocks have been doing great.
The Big Seven.
Everything's
they're
doing.
unstoppable.
It's bizarre.
We're
world,
at
man.
new all-time highs in a bunch of the big tech names.
It's crazy.
All-time highs.
That's crazy.
Not like local
Not,
trend highs.
cycle, not year to date. Yeah. Wow.
Right, ever. And so and then home prices haven't come off, right? So where is people wealth? Equity market, housing market.
Yep. And that's
What? People are going to feel poor when this stuff is rallying?
So if their biggest assets are valuable, then they go out and spend their cash. Then that's
that's part
the
of
fear,
it. But
right?
Again, a lot of people don't have as much wealth, and so what you're focused on is everyone. And there are some things like student loan repayments that are going to happen starting in
We've
October.
talked about this. Yeah.
So it's going to be a tale of two cities of sorts. But at the end of the day, like if you want to tackle inflation, like you can't have asset markets ripping.
It's not.
It's not supportive.
Yeah.
And I think what the Fed is thinking is like, well, monetary policy works with a lag. We're slowly draining liquidity from the market via QT. There's also more deficit spending happening, et cetera. So, I think they're probably taking the more measured approach, which is, in 6 months from now, we'll have drained $600 billion of liquidity. Where are stocks going to be then, and where's the housing market going to be then?
And we'll reevaluate over that period, right? We'll watch it closely.
But in the meantime, people are FOMOing into stocks.
That's great.
Meme names are popping off.
Really? For real?
Yeah, there was one that was up 40% today.
Oh my, no.
And the guys were like, why is it up even?
Wasn't up at all.
Literally, exactly.
Goodness gracious.
So, it's not like, as bad
weird...
as it was in Doge to dollar era.
Right.
When...
That was the good dog money times.
Good dog.
That was fun. That was fun. Dog money.
Elon pumped Doge today by 4% with a dog photo.
He posted his dog. Was it his dog or just
I
any
forgot
dog?
what it was. But I saw that headline. Doge up 4% on Elon tweet. I'm like, not again.
You're like this world. Oh man.
But he didn't even talk about Doge.
He's just a picture of a dog.
That's the world we're in.
Oh my God. What a weird market and an interesting market to follow.
No, it's super fun.
All right. Well, BIMNet, our friend, BIMNet Abibi from Galaxy Trading, as always, thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a good one.